Hi, lovely CAWC ladies. Welcome to QuaranTea Tuesday with me, your host, Dalia Bifas. And today I'm very, very excited because we have got the lovely Maral from Kazakhstan.
Yes, that's right.
Right, yes. Very exotic. I would love to go. My husband's been on business, but I haven't. And Maral today is going to teach us how to make kombucha.
Yes.
I'm very excited because I love drinking it. I know it's really, really good for your gut health, really good for your gut bacteria. It's obviously made with live cultures, like good for you when you have kimchi and yogurt, etc., etc. So I know it's good for me. I do have store-bought ones, but I'm super excited to know how to make it myself. So I know all the ingredients that go in, and I know that they're organic, and I've made it myself. So welcome, Maral. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. So thank you, Dalia, for introducing me. So I've never done this before. This is my first time. Growing up in Kazakhstan, we always been eating fermented food like fermented cabbage and then kefir. So I know it's very important to have fermented food in your diet. And also we used to live in Japan for the last 5 years. We always used to eat fermented pickled vegetables, and miso soup is very good for you. So I know that is many different traditions always have fermented food in their diet. So today I'm going to show you what I've been doing for the last 2 years. I have been brewing my own kombucha, which is fermented tea. And then I'm going to show you the most important part of this fermentation is going to be SCOBY. This is my SCOBY hotel. I have many layers of SCOBY there. Lots of babies. Somebody was very interested in babies, so I have some babies here to come to new families. So very important part to brew kombucha. It has to go through 2 processes. First is sweet tea. I'm going to show you how to make a sweet tea. So basically, to make 1 liter of kombucha tea, you will need first maybe 300 grams of water. You boil the water. So here, I've been boiling water. So basically, plain water and add 1/4 cup of sugar. I've been using the most healthiest options, maybe if you have organic sugar or cane sugar, so it will basically benefit, and then it will be very important for your tea to have healthy options. Yes, Dalia?
Maral, can I use coconut sugar?
Yes, I've been using coconut sugar too. So it just, well, whatever sugar you use, you will be able to taste. So it's very important to have good tea, and it's very important to have good sugars. So you will have a nice, healthy kombucha. So I'm gonna put 1/4 cup of sugar in my boiled water. This is the sugar. I'm gonna add in my boiled water. Just gonna pop in it. Yeah, this is a very important process. That sugar is very important. Mix it, and then you put your tea bags inside. So I'm not going to be able to show you so it's brewing on a hob. So I'm going to add tea bags. Yet again, I'm using the healthy option. If you have a loose tea leaves, or there's a tea pig option, so you just pop it in there. I will be using 3 tea bags to make 1 liter of kombucha. So
what kind of tea do you typically use?
Normally, I try to use black tea or green tea that is unflavored. No Earl Grey tea, because Earl Grey tea will have some oils on it, and will have something that will interfere, I think, with fermentation. It's very important to use just a basic black tea, loose tea, or I have the Tea Peak Everyday Brew, or there's another option I also use as everyday, the Clippers. Also, it's non-plastic, so it's very, very good and healthier. So this is the tea I have.
So Maral, do you have to have a tea with caffeine in it? Can you do a non-caffeine tea?
Yes, you can do non-caffeinated. So I have been brewing non-caffeinated decaf tea, but for the first fermentation, you will need to use caffeinated tea. So afterwards, when it's going through second fermentation, I think the caffeine will break down. So when you have a second fermentation, what you can do, I will go through that process again, but for the second fermentation, you can flavor with different teas. So I'll have like apple and cinnamon tea, or you can do detox tea with coconut. So but this flavoring only you can add on second fermentation. The first, very important, is you have to have a sweet tea with a black tea. I don't know, I hope it's not confusing. So here is our, can you see? Black tea. I don't know.
Maral, do you boil the bags in the pot with the water?
Yeah, I am boiling the bag. So it's supposed to be boiling. So I'm just, because I can't bring you guys recording. Yes, we can boil it maybe for 1 minute. So to make sure the sugar dissolves, and then you can have a very strong concentrated tea, which is very important because you will need all the nutrients from the tea to make the kombucha. So the flavor of the tea is very important. So make sure you boil it for maybe for 1 minute, so the sugar dissolves, and then you take it off. So once it's all concentrated and strong tea, what you do is you add cold water to it, so you don't have to wait for the tea cool down, right? So I already have here made cold tea I prepared earlier. So this will be the process. You will have boiled tea, you add cold water to it, and then you will end up with a pitch like this of 1 liter of the sweet tea. Okay?
So how much, sorry, Maral, how much cold water do you add?
So here I added about 350, maybe 1 gallon. I don't know what's about 370 milliliters of water with a tea bags and sugar, quarter cup of sugar, 370 or 1 gallon of water. You boil it, and then once it's boiled,
with the 3 tea bags.
Yeah, we have 3 tea bags. I've got 3 tea bags here. Yeah, so we have very strong concentrated black tea here. Yeah. So then you can take off the tea bags, leave them, pop them on the side, and then you add cold water to it.
How much cold water?
I heard you were saying 375 mils of water to make the sweet tea, plus then you make up later on with cold water to make a liter.
Yeah, then you make up cold water to make a liter. So because you don't have to wait for it to cool down, so you just speed up the process by making very strong concentrated black tea, which is here. Oh, there you go. Yeah. And then you add cold water to it. Yeah. And then you end up with a pitch of 1 liter of cold tea, sweet tea. Then the second very important process of this, you will need to add SCOBY. What is SCOBY? SCOBY is, I'm going to show you, symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. So this is my SCOBY.
Wow.
I'm going to add this SCOBY.
Yes,
It's
Daniel.
very healthy, funny looking monster.
Yeah.
So they can be very, very light. And then as it gets more fermentation, you know, in hotel, it gets darker because they will have more yeast in them and they'll be more stronger. So this is the most freshest one that is brewed 2 weeks ago. So this one is much more lighter. So to make this tea, so what we'll do, very important, all your appliances are super clean because there's a live bacteria. You don't want to end up with mold or anything that is no good for you. So this is already clean jar. And maybe it's best to use glass jars. So we will be able to see, so you don't have to keep touching. I know it's very fascinating. I think many people, what they do when they brew their first tea, they always pick up and touch it, and then that will slow down the process because it will need to build another baby when it's brewing. So we're gonna add the cold tea in the jar. Oh, hold on. You can't see me. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that better?
It is better.
Okay, there we go. Oh, hold on. Sorry. I should prepare this. Oh, there we go. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay, so we've got the cold jar, glass jar, and then we're gonna add cold tea. So I always use a strainer because when you brew tea, you always end up with a brown bits like that. So there we go. Then we have a cold tea, and then we're gonna add SCOBY. And the second very important part, you will have to use a starter tea, which is already, the tea has been through first fermentation. So this is the starter tea I use from the hotel that I showed you earlier. So this, you see all the liquid inside?
Oh,
it's
wow.
full of starter tea that's been through fermentation many, many times. So it has all the acid and yeast that it needs to help this little SCOBY to ferment. So we're gonna add the starter tea. So I try to use about maybe 1.5 cup, 2 cups of starter tea. So it will help. I know it's a little bit more acidic, but it will be better and healthier for the SCOBY to grow in more acidic and more vinegary starter. So it will break down quicker and then also maybe prevent having mold because the pH level is so much lower. So this is our SCOBY. You know, sometimes it floats on top, sometimes it just sits at the bottom, but it doesn't really matter. So you just leave the SCOBY in this tea to go through first fermentation. So up to 7 to 10 days. You leave it in one maybe airy place. Sometimes I leave it there, or I leave it in my corner of my living room, not living room, the storage room.
It doesn't need to be like warm and dark somewhere. It can just be
somewhere dark, somewhere airy, and definitely close the lid with cloth so the air can flow through it. So what you do is, I have a little cloth like this. This is the slightly bigger one, but I have the cloth like that, and then I put the rubber band around it, and I leave it for 7 to 10 days for it to ferment. If you'd like to taste your kombucha, if you just cannot wait 7 to 10 days, sometimes you can use, you know, the little syringes you get with Calpol. You can just take it out and then put it in a glass and try it and see how the fermentation is going. If it's, you know, the flavor you like to try. And then after 7 to 10 days, you will have another layer of SCOBY on top. It will take any shade that, whatever the jar or vessel you're using, it will take the shape of that jar. So, and after 7 to 10 days, what you do, you have to go through the second fermentation, which is called flavoring or bottling. That's a very fun part. So here I have already bottled and flavored kombuchas. So this one is a ginger and turmeric flavored kombucha. Here I have pomegranate flavored kombucha. And then passion fruit. And then raspberry. So for the second fermentation, you will need the kombucha that's been through the first process of fermentation after 7 to 10 days. You take it out, the SCOBY, and pour the tea inside into a jar, and make sure you keep a starter tea for your next batch to brew your second batch, and then you can start the tea to flavor. So to flavor, you will need airtight container, airtight bottle. They're the best, so you help carbonation process to go smoothly. So I use this bottle here, or sometimes I use the bottles that come with soda stream. So they're airtight. So what we need for that, about 10 or 20% of the flavoring at the bottom of the bottle. So you will need something sweet, like juice or crushed fruit, or whatever you like to do. You can put it at the bottom, and then you add the tea that you used up from this first fermentation. So here, to show you, I will make some passion fruit and raspberry tea. So I have half of passion fruit prepared, and I have some raspberries. Sometimes, if you like, there's so many options you can have. You can do ginger, the real ginger, and then in Waitrose and other supermarkets, you can get these ginger shots. Yeah, just to add some sugar. It will need a lot of flavor and to go through carbonation, because the most important part for carbonation is the sugar it needs, the yeast to eat up the sugar to make it carbonated. So just forward 7-10 days, we have fermented tea, right? We take out the SCOBY. I'm going to wash my hands. Yep. Gonna wash my hands.
Sorry,
Yep.
you got the container of the with the SCOBY in, and now you've got 2 layers of SCOBY. Am I right?
Yeah.
One at the bottom and one at the top.
Yeah.
You take both out and put them back in, like the hotel?
I will take one of them, put it in a hotel, and then I'll brew second batch. So imagine I already brewed the first tea.
Yes.
Here it is, after 7 to 10 days, yes?
Yes.
It's very good. Look, you can see the second layer.
Yes.
It's not, but this could be a kombucha on top. So you take it out your SCOBY, put it aside. So you see here, so this is the old one. You see it has a layer. So this will be the old SCOBY and the new SCOBY on top. Or here I have another one. You see, they'll have all different shapes. So you see here, so this is the old one and this is the new one on top. You can separate it, you can cut it, you can do anything you like with it, but it's very important to have a SCOBY when you brew kombucha. So when you do this second.
So sorry, so you take it out and then what do you do with it?
Yeah, you take it out, put it aside, make sure your pots and all the utensils you use are very clean and sanitized. Yeah.
Does it make a difference if your utensils are glass or metal or plastic?
I think it's very important to use glass. I use to bottle them. I always use glass, and then to store them, I always use glass. And I try not to use too much plastic. I use the metal to maybe to store the scobies. But it's very important part to keep them very, very clean. So we put the SCOBY aside, then we have the nice tea already been fermented. Then we're gonna pour some out for our second batch. We keep aside about half cup of starter tea. Yeah, so you keep the SCOBY, you keep the starter tea and put it separately. Then what you do, you pour the fermented tea. What flavor shall we do? We have ginger, raspberry, or passion fruit. Shall we mix them? We can mix them all together if you like. So I'm just gonna put some passion fruit inside a bottle. We will need about 10 to 20% to make of the bottle to make the flavored tea. So we've got passion fruit, already washed raspberries. We give them a little squeeze so juice will come out. So some raspberries, and then we add some ginger to it. Maybe to sweeten a little bit, I can add some ginger cordial. I have ginger cordial sometimes I use, or you can use the elderflower, any flavor that you really like to try on. So it's up to you, up to your taste. So I'm gonna add a little bit of ginger cordial. So here's the end process, whatever you put it at the bottom. Or you can just, if you like, you can just put straight juice without fruit. Just put juice or the turmeric shot you like to put. Or sometimes, Dalia, you were asking earlier if you like to make a bottled kombucha with different flavor tea, like for example, non-caffeinated decaf tea. So you have your kombucha, and then you brew separate decaf tea. So here I have organic rooibos tea. Yeah, so you brew that, and then you will have to mix it when you bottle it. So you mix, definitely mix the kombucha because it will need to go through carbonation, and then brewed tea. Imagine this is the tea, and then you can pour it in.
Maral, how do you add a spice like turmeric?
Turmeric. So yeah. You see, so if you're going to use roots, the turmeric roots or turmeric shots, you can just add whatever the bottle you use. For example, here, you know, it's very small. I think it's 250 milligram of bottle is. So you just put 10% of the turmeric shot at the bottom, and then the rest is going to be your kombucha tea that has been already fermented for 7 to 10 days or 2 weeks. And you add them together. Without SCOBY, it's just going to be the flavor and plus the fermented tea. You add them together. And then you just close the lid and airtight. Where's the lid of this bottle? I had the lid. Hang on, I lost the lid now. 1 second. Oh, there's a lid here. Okay. So make sure it's airtight. And that is going to go through a second fermentation, a carbonation. So all the sugar is very important and all the flavoring is very important. You keep it together, airtight bottle, and leave it for 3 to 4 days. Some people want to burp it. So if you want to burp it, if you worry that your bottle is going to explode, you just maybe in second or third day, you just open it a little bit, let the gas out. And then after it's been fermented for 3 to 4 days, you can put it in the fridge. And then you can mix it with sparkling water, you can mix it with your cocktail or anything you like, or you just can drink it as it is. Okay, any questions?
I know that when I buy kombucha, there's a big variation in terms of how much sugar it has. When you brew it yourself, how do you create a kombucha that has kind of on the lower end of sugar at the end?
On the lower end. So, for fermentation, it's very important to have a sugar. So don't be afraid putting sugar inside, because after breaking down with yeast, the sugar will basically going to be on a lower scale. So for example, if you're making or use healthier option, cane sugar or organic sugars, basically, you can't not put sugar inside. For fermentation process, it needs to have a sugar. And for carbonation process, it's definitely need to have a sugar to be able to carbonate. Like any beer or champagne, they will need to have a sweetener to it. So for 1 liter of kombucha, I will use 1/4 cup of sugar, or maybe a little bit more. And then when I do the second fermentation, I will add juice or crushed fruit or turmeric. I think this one also has a sugar, the turmeric, apple turmeric, black pepper, apple turmeric.
So it sounds like if I want a lower sugar one at the end, it's working out the balance at the second fermentation of having a really nice flavor, but not ending up at the end with a really, really sugary kombucha.
Yeah, that's right. So it will be up to you. So after you've done the second fermentation, after trying your second flavored tea, then maybe try when you're doing the bottling, maybe use smaller jars and put in one less sugar, and second one put it slightly more, and just see how it is for your palate. Everybody have different tastes and palate, so whatever suits your family. For example, my daughter really likes passion fruit one, but she won't drink the straight fermented kombucha. I will have to mix it with sparkling water for her, and then she will drink it. Okay. So she probably doesn't like that vinegary flavor.
So Maral, my question is around the SCOBY.
Yep.
The SCOBY that you've got there on the side in the bowl that you took out of the, you say you took the top one and you put that back in the hotel, and then you took the old one and you set it aside in the bowl.
Yep. So
what
this is on the bowl
now?
So this is in the bowl temporarily.
Yes.
Because then I will have to put it in the jar. In this jar. Or I can add them.
That's the one where you retained
the first
of the brewed one that you brewed for 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
Retain some of that.
Yeah.
And you put the SCOBY in that.
You can put the SCOBY in that, or if you want, you can keep 2 SCOBYs together in one jar. If you just want to keep one big jar, like I do. You see here, right? I keep one big jar. Hang on, I'm going to show you. Oh, you can't see this one, right? Hang on. Sorry, I'll have to keep it. I wanted to show you how it looks. Can you see? Is that okay if I lift the phone?
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah. So this is the kombucha, like a kombucha hotel. So you can keep it all together, and then to brew, you just take out, here, I used this earlier. So you just pick up the liquid like that and pour it out, and then you can take off the SCOBY to make that like that. You just take it out, and then you can use this for a second flavoring fermentation. But it's going to be very, very concentrated because it has been here for about 3 months. So it's you can stay up to 3 to 4 months, and then you can wash the jar, separate them, put the liquid separately, wash the jar, and then you start over again. Just keep them inside.
Maral, where does one get a SCOBY if they haven't started the process yet?
From Maral.
Yes, you can.
Let's say we didn't know Maral. Like, how would somebody start? Like, do you have to know somebody with a SCOBY, or?
Yeah, I think it's the best will be if you know somebody who's brewing the SCOBY. If somebody has kombucha, so you can go and try and see how it is. If you have any questions, she'll be able to help. Or there's some SCOBYs you can buy online, but or some people also brew from the already made bottle that they buy in supermarkets. They put it in a jar and brew some tea and add the kombucha to it, and then they wait if the SCOBY appears on top. But that process will take a little bit longer because they add a lot of yeast is to keep, so it doesn't end up with lots of SCOBYs inside of brown yeast inside. So I think the best option will be if you can buy from somebody, or and this time you can have some of mine, or sometimes you can buy a dehydrated one that's already like dry, and then they add some starter tea with it. You can buy it online. So it's yeah.
So Maral, if any of our members who are watching want to come to you and get some,
yes,
that will be okay. Yeah?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
I think they definitely need to find some space.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so if we come to you, what do we need to bring? What do we need to bring in order to take
to transfer? So to able to transfer. So the most important part, you will need a glass jar, maybe like an airtight jar. I use for my sugar. Hang on, I show you.
That you've sterilized.
The sterilized, nice, clean jar. This one I use for sugar. So just something like that. You can bring it here.
Yeah.
And then I will give you SCOBY and plus the starter tea.
Right.
The starter tea is the liquid inside. Oh, yeah, that's a starter tea.
Yes.
So,
and with that, whatever you give us that we can take home,
yeah,
and we can do the first
fermentation,
first brewing,
yeah,
and 7 to 10 days later, then we've got more SCOBY that we can kind of put back, and so I think what we're going to have to do is come and get some SCOBY from you, try it out, and then maybe get your advice again in the 7 to 10 days.
That's fine. I will be here if you have any questions. I'm here to help. Yes. I've been doing this for a long time, and then there's lots of people will ask, I don't know what's happened with my tea, because if you lift the lid, there's like white bits or brown spots, or is it creating SCOBY, or is it mold? Lots of questions. So I would recommend not touching the SCOBY for 7 to 10 days, because sometimes it has like lots of spots, and then it joins up and then become a SCOBY. So try not to jiggle around and wiggle around. Just better to have a glass jar so you can see it from outside and let it do his business for 7 to 10 days. So next, so you will need to come to me and pick up a SCOBY and a starter tea. Then you go home, you'll make a sweet tea, and then I will give you all the measurements. You will make yourself a sweet tea with your black tea that you have, tea leaves, or any organic sugar that you used. And then you brew it, add the starter tea to it and SCOBY, and leave it aside for 7 to 10 days. And afterwards you do the flavoring. You separate it, put a SCOBY aside, keep the liquid, and then you bottle it. with different flavors that you like. But make sure the very important process is to keep the starter tea for you to brew the second batch. Okay.
Wonderful. Very
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. So this is it. So you can try all different variations. You can try the second flavoring. It's the fun part, I think. When you try all different, flavors, you can add the already flavored tea to it. But I wouldn't recommend starting the first brewing with a flavored tea. It has to be a black plain tea.
Or red tea.
Yeah, or red tea. Yeah.
So could you use a rooibos as the starter tea?
Yes.
As a starter tea, I wouldn't recommend because if you want to brew non-rooibos tea for the second time, it will have that flavor in your starter tea. So I would recommend to try to do with plain black tea. And then for the second bottling for flavoring, you can brew separate tea and then you add them together.
But say you don't want to have caffeine. Don't have caffeine. So I would prefer to start non-caffeine from the beginning. And I love rooibos tea. It's the only tea I drink. Could I make all my kombucha as a rooibos tea?
Yes. Okay. Then yeah. If you don't want to have if you don't want to have caffeine, yes, you can start with rooibos tea, and then just keep it as it is. It's just if you want to mix the flavors for the next tea, I was wondering then maybe, or you can get maybe decaf tea bags, and then you can add the rooibos tea on the second process.
Yes, and then you.
I got a question.
Yep.
If we come and get the SCOBY from you, how much will it be?
How much? I will cut the size of the small jar.
Yeah.
Small jar of the SCOBY. I have many here.
Yeah.
So you will be able to get one of the baby SCOBYs like this.
Yes.
Yeah, and with a starter tea.
But what I mean is how much in money?
Oh, how much money? I wasn't gonna charge you for SCOBY, but if you like to pay, then I was fundraising money for my charity where I ran the marathon, the charity called Kith and Kids.
Okay.
You're more than welcome to add money to that.
All right.
But I don't want any money for myself.
Well, I was asking because as Daniela is gone because I had found this in internet, and the SCOBY price to begin with is £9 or £10.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
$8.99 for organic kombucha SCOBY.
Oh, okay. So yes, no, I wasn't gonna charge. I was recommending this. I wanted you guys to have some other quarantine, theme. So kombucha is the one that I have.
Daniela, I was just showing this that if you wanted to, is that one? Oh, if you can buy certified, what is it?
Organic.
Certified kombucha from internet, organic at £9. Okay. But I was asking Maral how much we will pay her, and she said that she wasn't expecting any money, but if we want to donate to her charity, that will be good. Now, I got another very important question. Why is so important to have kombucha?
Why is it important? So I think because of it's processed, the way it's made, it's fermented tea, which is very good for your gut bacteria. Okay. So some people now realizing that gut bacteria is very important. It's it's healthier for us, and it starts many problems. People just avoid it. Like when I was growing up, I always had a kefir in my fridge, My mom made sure we drink kefir. We made sure all summer we fermented vegetables, so we will be able to eat it through winter. So we'll have the probiotic, or in Japan, they have the Yakult, which is probiotic drink. So everything is just for your gut bacteria, so you feel more healthier. And I know not everybody agrees with it, but you know why they do it. But I think it's very, very healthy, and it's very important to have fermented food in your diet.
Thank you.
Letty, so there's over 70% of your immune system comes from your gut, and your gut has to be in balance. And your gut, for every one human cell we have, we've got 10 bacteria in our body. So we are
Serious.
so we are 10, we're 10 times bacteria cells than we are human cells.
Human cells, okay.
DNA strand we have in our body, we have 100 times the amount of bacterial DNA in our body. So we are basically more bacteria than human. My son argues with me because he says that makes us human, so we're still human. But if you know what I mean, we've got more bacteria, by 100 times more bacterial DNA in our bodies than human cells. So it's so important to keep that balance. All our ill health and our bad health comes from your bacterial imbalances. And I mean, Hippocrates, who lived 2,400 years ago, said that all disease begins in the gut, and food is medicine, and eat thy medicine. And he's considered the father of modern medicine. And along the way, doctors have lost sight of this, that everything comes from, like, dis-ease. If you take the word, is actually dis-ease. Your body's not at ease, it's not in homeostasis, it's not in balance. And all these diseases that we get, and they all come from the way we live our life and the way we strengthen our immune system, etc., etc. And that all comes down to what we eat. Over, I think it's 80 or 90% of our serotonin, which is one of our happiness drugs, is produced in the gut. And only a very small amount of it is actually produced in the brain. And for every message that your brain sends your gut sends 9 or 10 messages to your brain. So actually they're calling it the second brain, but there is so much, everything about our health comes from our guts. So kombucha is, it gives us good bacteria, the same as yogurt, kimchi, miso, and things, and things like that. So it's lost sight of that. Ancient civilizations and different societies have always had fermented food, like Maral was saying, like you would gather in the summer, ferment, eat in the winter. Koreans eat kimchi with every single meal.
With everything, yeah.
And
miso.
In Western diets, we've lost sight of that, and we eat our pizza and our burger and our cereals for breakfast, pizza for lunch, and a burger for dinner, or whatever. Where's our vegetables? Where's our fermented foods? And it's also very important to have fiber in your gut. So that combination of fiber, which you find in fruits and vegetables, and which is called prebiotics, is your fiber. And your probiotics you get from your fermented food. The combination of that is what keeps us healthy and keeps us from getting sick, keeps our body from getting inflamed. All diseases come from inflammation. And so it's so important, and especially in a Western diet where we've forgotten about these fermented foods. So something like knowing how to make your own kombucha and incorporate it into your daily life, the health benefits are spectacular.
There we go. Thank you, Dalia.
My nutrition coach just comes
Yeah,
up.
no, that's good. I think it's very good for the digestive system. I think it's very, very important. And you can see that straight away. I mean, I'm not going to go into details, but the minute you consume kombucha, you will see the difference in your diet and the way you behave and everything. So it's very good for the digestive system. Let's put it that way. Yes.
And so because I'm going to put this on YouTube, I'm not going to give out your details here, but if anybody contacts me directly or CAWC or on the Facebook page,
Yeah.
Any of us, we can then contact, we can send out your contact details to them, or we can give you their contact details, and then they can ask you questions.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if and then let me know when you're ready to pick up your baby.
Yes.
And then we'll make sure the babies are all looked after.
Wonderful. So I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much.
Carry on chatting
if you
want to, but I'm just going to stop the recording now for you two.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maral.
Thank you, everyone.
Fascinating.
Yeah, thank you.